This video is powered by the pros at Pascal Air Plumbing and Electric. Arkansas owned, Arkansas operated. GoPascal.com.
Tom, happy National Christmas Day. Good morning. Kind of the question we were just speaking
Christmas Tree Day.
Christmas Tree Day, excuse me, not Christmas. We've still got a few more days to that. The question that we were kind of contemplating, is it more important for the Razorbacks to beat the Jayhawks in the bowl game or rebuild your roster? That's the question I'm posing to you as we start this conversation.
All right. Well, I appreciate the debate, and thanks and welcome, everybody. There's two answers to that question. There's the short-term answer and the long-term answer. The short-term is you want to win and have a winning record. But obviously, the long-term, and I think the more important answer is to, getting your roster situated. Obviously, you can do both. You can get guys in from the portal, manage the folks who are leaving, and, bring in this freshman class on December the 21st. You can do all that and then still be very focused and pointed toward having a physical, good game plan in the Liberty Bowl. So we'll see. It's possible that you can do both, but if I'm weighing the two, it's getting your roster situated for next year and beyond.
I pointed out examples of TCU from 2 years ago, Penn State last year. Arkansas didn't get to play TCU. Supposedly they had too many with COVID, but I think their roster was a problem. Penn State Arkansas beats them badly in the second half to win the Outback Bowl. They're both the New Year's Day Six Bowl. So, obviously the outcome of those bowl games and the way they panned out didn't affect their ability in short term to get to a bowl that any Arkansas fan would love to be in right now.
Absolutely. And, people are going to point to this TCU team as kind of, plodding along there. I think they had a around 500 record a year or two ago, and then you bring in a fresh guy. Sonny Dykes clearly knowing what he's doing, and a Texas guy at that. And now, going and playing in the playoff, and just a heartbreaking loss in overtime last week to Kansas State. Man, the review of that play near the goal line was something, because he was certainly stretching for it, and it was a very tight, close play.
Yeah. So I guess it gives you hope if you're an Arkansas fan that they can be there. So let's talk about this Kansas game. You've had a chance to kind of look at some of the early matchups. I think it's hard to really evaluate a lot until you know where your roster's at. And now with Barry Odom leaving, that puts even more doubt or speculation into your defensive side. Kind of where are you at with this matchup right now, and your thoughts on Barry Odom and what that means for this bowl game?
Well, it's going to be an intriguing matchup because both teams have given up a lot of yardage, and Kansas is particularly vulnerable to the run game. So you'd think having a relatively, Arkansas game plan, establish Rocket Sanders and the rest of the backs and let KJ run a little bit, would be a no-brainer for them to have a chance to win the game. But on the other side, their quarterback, Jalen Daniels, was hurt in their biggest game of the year, which was TCU at home. They were unbeaten. Game day was there, and Daniels got hurt. But he's come back, and, they've been giving up a ton of points since he came back, but he's a good dual-threat quarterback, much like KJ, so they'll have to contain him. I'm not sure, they don't have like a really top-level pass game, but Arkansas has been proven to be very vulnerable against the pass, so that's going to be incorporated into their plan, like Missouri. They weren't thought of as a dangerous pass team, but man, they converted that fourth down when they really needed it against Arkansas, and Brady Cook had a huge day against them. So I expect it to be a competitive, close game, and what I'd like to see is a motivated Razorback team, a team that wants to be there and plays hard. And sometimes you get into these bowl situations, and there are programs that the players seem to be checked out mentally a little bit.
Tom, Dowell Loggains reportedly could be taking this South Carolina offensive coordinator job. Now, many have brought up the idea you have a backup OC in place if he's on staff, if Kendall was ever to leave. Just kind of your thoughts on this report and the impact it could have on Arkansas's offense and recruiting.
Yeah, late last night, right as I was going to bed, and then early this morning, it seems though the ball might be in Dowell's court. From the reports you see out of South Carolina, that they really targeted him, and it's decision time for Dowell Loggains. Kentucky made a run at him last year. There were thoughts of him. The Arizona State head coaching job came up. So, I mean, he's a well-known name in the coaching circles. He's had the unfortunate deal of being on NFL teams, the offensive coordinator on teams that were struggling at the time. But he's an innovative guy, well-liked. I mean, he's an outstanding recruiter. Look at the tight end class they have coming in. And the thought was that if Kendall Briles ever took a position outside Arkansas, that Dowell would be right there to, a ready-made, homegrown guy or, from Newport and played here. So, I guess we'll keep a close eye on what happens with that today. And then, before that, there was some smoke about Kendall Briles in South Carolina. So I'm not sure if it's in the cards that Kendall takes some other position this offseason. And if so, you run with him and KJ, which have been a good combination. And then we'll see what happens with Dowell.
How much does KJ coming back play into Kendall Briles' mindset of if he wants to stay in Fayetteville or if he takes another job?
Yeah, I think it's a big factor because he made a big deal out of, when we first talked to him in the spring, that KJ was the first returning starter he's had at quarterback. And so you could tell he kind of cherished that. And I do think there's this synergy between the two of them. And I think it's impactful for Kendall Briles. If he got a job offer he couldn't refuse, I mean, I don't think that would prevent him from taking it. But still, I think it's a draw for him. And, you put up another big season of stats. And y'all, let's just be honest. They've struggled in the red zone. But KJ Jefferson's pass efficiency stats and his dual threat abilities are very near the top of the heap in this country. And you cannot overlook the fact that he improved. He's right on the brink of breaking the completion percentage record yet again. So in 3 seasons under Kendall Briles, they've had the top 3 pass completion percentage years in Arkansas football history. So there's something good going on there.
Yeah. Be a lot to keep an eye on the next couple of weeks. His changes are coming one way or another at this program, it feels like. Some news we got yesterday was just terrible news. That's Trevon Brazil. His ACL gave way the other night when his knee gave way on that play where he's going to the basket. Tom, this was not the news we were hoping after watching him being helped off the floor. How do you think it affects the chemistry, the playing minutes, and all of that moving forward for Eric Musselman's team?
Yeah, just a tough break for a kid who really flashed at the start of the season. I think it's going to take a while because he was the 6th man. Eric Musselman was already talking about being, quote, discombobulated with his substitution rhythms in the prior game. And, Greensboro was a tough nut to crack. I mean, Arkansas is going to have to – I think their half-court offense has got to make strides. And, we don't watch their practices, but I've got to think that in the coming days, finding ways to get guys open in the half-court is going to be really, really huge in the way you do your screens and your pick and rolls and all those things that Eric Musselman's so good at. But, you don't replace him, his jumping ability, putbacks. He almost had another the other night, I think, on a Ricky Council miss. But I don't think there's anyone on the roster who's a total combination of everything Brazil does and a strong rebounder. So just a really tough break. But we do know there's enough talent on this roster to absorb it, and I think they're going to find a way.
Yeah, I'd like to see Jordan Walsh be the answer. I mean, I think everybody's expecting him to come on at some point and kind of live up to the recruiting hype. We hadn't seen that yet the way we've seen it out of Anthony Black, and we're just now getting to figure out what Nick Smith's about. Brazil's kind of been a surprise and a nice surprise for this team. Mm-hmm. I think Walsh's answer. Do you have a different answer? Where do you look to kind of fill this gap?
Tom, it's funny that you mentioned that because as I watched the game, I thought, the next time I go on radio with these guys, I'm going to bring up Jordan Walsh. He looks like he's a guy who is trying to let the game come to him because he understands, there's all these pieces to the team, and we're still trying to figure out, what is his game? What does he bring? Well, pretty good rebounder. I think his defense is okay, but you'll see him start games and then spend pretty good amounts of minutes on the bench. and a lot of times at Brazil's, at the expense of Brazil's minutes. So I do think his minutes will go up. And a couple of times in the game, you just saw him like forcing a shot. And Devo Davis did a lot of that. Speaking of which, Devo Davis went from an 0 for 2 in his first game back to really trying to force things. Now, I know he played a really good defensive game, 10 rebounds, but he forced things offensively in the half court. And I think Jordan Walsh, it's just going to take a little bit of time because there's, Nick Smith came back, and, man, he's just so fluid offensively. So cleaning up misses, just rebounding, doing all the things defensively, rim protecting. He has to do all those things and then find little niches, possessions here and there where he does his thing offensively.
Tom, we'll leave it there this morning. Appreciate your basketball and football conversation, and we'll talk more on Tuesday after this Oklahoma game this weekend.
All right, let's do it. See y'all.
Football is back, and BetOnline remains your number one source for all your football betting needs this season. You'll find the latest odds, matchup info, player news, and game trends. And as your continued source for all sports wagering info, BetOnline features live betting, free contests, live scores, and giveaways all season long. Always the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports and events like MLB, MMA, tennis, boxing, and even golf. Head to betonline.ag to join and receive your 100% welcome bonus with your first deposit. Make sure to use the promo code BELIEVE to receive your rewards. That's BLEAV. Bet online, where the game starts.